Internet, how's it going? Okay, so we're talking about arc shortening now. Uh, arc shortening. Arc snap is the thumbnail. Shortening has too many letters to fit in a thumbnail. So the term I use in my head is arc shortening, but arc snap works. It's the same thing. Okay, so the this is a bad cue, but the swing happens from the shoulder. When we're actually thinking about the swing and the arm path, we want to think about the swing coming from the elbow, not from the shoulder, but for the purposes of the swing is coming from the shoulder. Where arc shortening comes from is at the hit point. At the hit point, my shoulder is moving away from the disc. This is predicated on the new model of understanding everything, which is torque. Torque is this. The center is staying in place, which requires two forces that are equal and opposed, causing the rotation to happen. So, two forces, this back, this in, two forces causing rotation. When I get to here, when I get to my hit point, given I'm rotating around my spine, if I continue rotating around my spine, I'm pulling the disc away from its ejection point. That's kind of what this is all predicated on. Enter the dragon, which these are a very interesting tool. People who are good at using these are insanely intimidating. If you've ever seen someone who's actually studied this as an art form, it's intense. I have not. I have a very basic skill level with these. So what I'm going to try to do in this demo is I'm going to try to keep this thing straight. Weight on one side, weight on other side, chains in the middle. I'm going to try to keep it straight. So that looks like this. Note I can't actually keep it straight because when I change directions, it's going to bend a little bit. So this is not a perfect demo, but this is me trying to make this thing as stick-like as possible. So if I were to cause an impact at some point, it would be the force resulting would be roughly the same as this object, which weighs about the same, which is about the same length, same force level. If I'm just swinging a stick at you versus if I'm swinging the chucks at you. That's mode 1. That's stick mode. Here's stick mode. I can up the intensity level of any proposed hypothetical impact by shortening the arc. What I'm keeping track of is the arc here. If I shorten that arc, watch what happens. So here's a long arc, trying to keep everything linear. If I shorten it, wacha. I sped up too, because I'm trying to make a point, but if I don't speed up, here's slow, and then I just shorten the arc, it changes things. Now I'm using the hinge of the jointed section a lot more. When this arc shortens, like that, the amount of travel of this end is more degrees per second. So another way to say that is it's going faster. If it's covering more degrees per second, it's traveling at a higher speed, so the resulting impact is going to have more force. Same thing, when I shorten the arc, if I make this shape and just turn forward, at about here, my shoulder starts to go away from the hit point. You can think about it like this. If I point to a disc in the rack, so it's like I'm pointing to that one, when my shoulder continues to rotate through, this hand is getting shorter. So if I have centered rotation, and I'm setting up centered rotation, so my intent is to do this, boom, have my elbow unfurl. As that's happening, my shoulder is pulling away from that point. Boom, if I exaggerate it and lean back too much, boom, you get that. So there's arc shortening happening from here. So at this point, the astute observer will reference Chris Taylor's data on Dave Wiggins and say that Dave Wiggins is only 10 degrees open to the target at his release. So open to the target in terms of the chest means the target is that way, my chest is open to the target. If I'm only 10 degrees open, I'm here. I'm just a little bit past square. That's where Dave Wiggins, the pinnacle of distance form, until AB showed up. That's where he hits. That's where he releases. So you would argue at that point the shoulder is not moving away yet. And even a lot of other pros who are more open, they're not past. I think it would happen at like the 45-degree open point where that's where your shoulder is actually going to be moving away. Totally correct. My shoulder is not actually going to be moving away. But from here, wherever my hit point is in space, put my arm there to denote that point. Once my shoulder is in line with that, as I move past that point, I may not be like pulling the arm back to where it's shorter, but from this point on in my rotation, the arm is getting a little bit shorter. So that to me that feels a lot like, well, you're not going to get ejected from the car if you go from 80 to 70, but you are still going to feel a slow down. But what if you go from 80 to 40 in a half a second? You're still going to get ejected. You don't have to stop to have that force happen. I don't have to actually pull my shoulder away to have the force matter in the throw, which is now we're talking about elbow fins, and it's the same argument. That's accelerating the unhinging of my elbow and the unhinging of my wrist if I'm doing that, and the unhinging of the disc to my hit point. My shoulder is moving east. My hand on the disc is also moving east at release. If that's 12 o'clock, this is 3 o'clock. 3 o'clock is east. My finger is east as release happens and the disc goes forward by definition. So that's what's happening in a backhand. That's why arc shortening matters for... Arc shortening is creating acceleration into your hit point. Contrast this with a forehand. So in a forehand, our throwing side hip this is blocking. Throwing side hip is driving forward. The throwing side shoulder is driving forward and ideally going into a forward lean. Our shoulder is driving forward, going from external rotation to internal rotation. Our wrist is driving forward, causing release to happen. So this is unilateral. Everything is on one side. I'm throwing from my right side. Throwing, all of my right side goes forward. That's relatively accessible. We evolved to throw things in the direction our eyes are pointing. That motor pattern makes sense to us evolutionarily. Throwing a backhand, however, it's not unilateral. It's bilateral. Enter torque. This hip is stopping and clearing. This hip is going forward. My anchor is here. This is my axis of rotation. This is just one way to model the throw. There's lots of different ways to do it. This is my axis. This is the stable part. This is going to crumple zone forward, which is going to send this backwards, which is where our arc shortening comes from. So I think about it as this is my brace. This is my pivot point. My power is coming from here, going to here, causing the arm to unfurl. So that's a lot harder because I'm getting power from my left hip, sending it into my right shoulder, pulling my right shoulder back to shorten the arc that would otherwise just be an arm throw. If I'm not allowed to move my shoulders, I just get to do this. That's just an arm throw. Where power comes from is connecting this to this, bracing well, and getting that arc shortening thing to work. So you can't arc shorten in a forehand, which is why it's easier and why it has a lower distance ceiling. It's easier to get to your maximum forehand because we evolved to throw like that. It's a overhand motion essentially, sidearm but still overhand, versus a backhand where it's a lot more complicated. Crossbody versus unilateral, same side. So hopefully this will help you understand a little bit about why bracing is important, because bracing is what allows the arc shortening to happen. If you're not bracing, you can't arc shorten, and your point of reference to your arc is just drifting forward, and the best you can do is an arm throw. you're not going to get to elite level distance. So if you made it this far, you're one of us. There's links. I'm on Formero now. You can get a one-off review on there. I'm on Patreon. That's how you get on my Discord. That's how you work with me month to month. Thank you so much for watching to the end of the video. Please like, subscribe, comment, turn on notifications so you see the next video. I'm trying to do more of them. Hope you're enjoying it. Hope it's helping. See ya.